Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to be here today because I have an amazing person with me. So, before I get started, who am I? I am Jazz, visionary, owner, founder, CEO, whatever you want to call it, of Blk Sunflower. I started off as a candle company, but now I'm so much more. And I just want to live the rest of my life doing what I want, when I want, and being happy doing it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and why I don't just define myself as just a candle company anymore. And that's not my vision. I have the amazing Derek from HOAM Candle Company with me, and I had the pleasure, and as we all did, had the pleasure of watching him grow within his business and gain success and just do amazing things. And I was always watching, like, yeah, you go, Derek. And that's one big misconception I think we have in the candle community is that sometimes we're competing against each other. I'm never competing against anyone. There's enough in this for everyone to eat. And honestly, without further ado, because more people are going to start rolling in here and we'll have a little bit of banter back and forth for a second, and then we're going to get to the good stuff. So I'm not going to try to like scare y'all, but get your tissues, get your blankies, get your tea. Go ahead and pull up because we're about to give you the real deal. And without further ado, here he goes. What's up, Derek?
Hey, how are you?
I am doing amazing. I'm so happy that we actually finally got this together because we talked about it a while ago.
I think it was last year when we talked about it, actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
so this has been in the atmosphere and amongst us for a while, and we finally got this conversation together. I think it's like it has bubbled up to the surface for the both of us, and it's like we can't hold it in anymore, pretty much.
right. I want to let the people know because I want people to be successful. That's the
Yeah,
bottom line. And I don't want them to go through the things that I do because, listen, we look like we have it together on the outside, but
yeah,
we're fixing a bunch of other stuff in the background. And so Derek had a great idea with this where we're honestly going to interview each other in a way. And I think that's really exciting. And before we get started, I want to thank everyone for being here. Go ahead and put in the comments where you're from. If you know us from, you know me from Blk Sunflower, you know from HOAM Candle Company. Who's your tribe? Where you at? Because you know what, Derek takes claim on his people. You know, he's
I
like, you
love
don't
my homies,
but home, right? And he's
my
right.
homies.
First of all,
Yeah.
can you show that T-shirt real quick? I love it when you came out with that.
Hold on one second.
Are you able to? Yes,
Yes.
you do need another candle. I saw that. I said yes. I do need another
Boom.
candle. We all
That's
do.
always a fact. Yeah.
So yes, all the homies, and as they start rolling in here, because people always usually come about 5 after. That's okay. They
Yeah.
can watch the replay because I think we should just get this started. What do you think?
Okay. I think we can. I want to apologize in advance. I have a bit of a sore throat, so I will be sipping tea and like water in the midst. So in advance. But other than that, I'm ready to go. Let's
Well,
let's
first of
let's
all, we no longer apologize for taking care of ourselves. So drink your
that's
tea and
that's a
drink.
part of the conversation actually. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the precursor. Sip that tea, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So we have Las Vegas in the building, Atlanta. Oh, dang, Latrice. Oh, yeah, Latrice, you are in everything. And BCMC and the BBU tribe. She's a homie and she's part of Black. So she's everywhere.
She
Everybody,
everywhere. She true to it.
she is. She's true to it. Oh, there goes Jamie from Define Candle Co. You know what? We love me some Jamie. Jamie actually spotted me out at a vendor event and she walked all the way across the venue to say hi. And we've been kicking it ever since. So
Love it.
I love
Love
it.
it.
So let's get started. Do you want to ask first? Me want to ask first?
You go first. You go first. I
Okay.
let the host go first.
All right. So I will go first. And the first question I will have for you is what are some of the biggest challenges you faced when you're achieving your success, your fast success at that?
Um, I think the biggest challenge that I faced was public perception versus what was actually going on behind the scenes. And what mean when I say that is like because I have a background where I have a background in graphic design. I have touched around in marketing, fashion. So like visuals and aesthetic is a strong suit for me. And then I think I have a certain like charisma also that kind of like gives me a bit of an edge on social media. And I think all of those things came together to present like a package that didn't look like it just started when it had just started. Because I mean, I only started in February of 2021. And, by June, July, August, I had people looking at my page, looking at my site, and they're asking me for advice already. And I'm like, I don't really know. I'm figuring it out right along with you. And so I think just like what people saw versus what it actually was kind of like the biggest thing for me, you know, right up front with like the quickness of my success.
Mhm. And we have a lot of people who love us in the building, but this is going to be living on YouTube. So can you actually first tell people about your business, where it came from, and the vision? So I
Yeah.
apologize for that.
No problem. So Home Candle Company was founded in February of 2021. I started this business. The idea was spawned in the pandemic. Like a lot of other people's businesses and ideas, mine was spawned in the pandemic. I was working full time from home as a graphic designer. Well, even when I was working at home, I was burning candles like crazy. But like many other people, I lost my job during the pandemic, and so I had a ton of time on my hands. I remember one day I was sharing the candle haul that I had. I had went to, I think, Hobby Lobby and bought candles, a bunch of them, and I was sharing them on Instagram. Like, this one's good, this one's great, this one's great. And at the end of it, and I still have this video where I say, I need to make my own candles. And that was the little spark. And of course, I had the time. And entrepreneurship is something that I have. This is not my first business, so I've been like dabbling in entrepreneurship for years at this point. But this was the first time where I had like full time and space to do it. And so I dove head first into it. I did a like an incubator class called Co-Starters. Kind of got the basis of the business settled, the foundation, and I hit the ground running February of 2021. My first order was from I was working part time at a store. The manager of the store, she did a bulk order, and that was literally my first order. And from there, it was like I did my first pop up shop in that same store, and even it was like the things that I came out the gate doing, like doing having my first pop up shop be in a retail store, and it looked amazing around it. I think even that made people think, oh, like this guy has been doing this, or like this looks amazing. And so from there, it was just like a series of events, and I think at that time people were really hungry to support small businesses at that time because it was like a big boom during the tail end of quarantining and all of that. So I got a lot of support right out the gate, and I just pressed forward building my social media presence, building the brand, getting in a couple of stores, um, and yeah, I make luxury scented candles, and I struggle with the word luxury because I'm kind of in a transition phase with that. But luxury scented candles, I primarily use a coconut apricot wax, of course, the toxin free, fragrance oils and all of that type of stuff. Up to now, my focus has been on candles. I've I've recently, maybe like a year ago, launched into fragrance mists, and my plan is to continue to expand my product mix, and add some of the things that people have been asking me for. But the candles have been working amazingly, and that's what has me here today. Home Candle Company.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I guess I'll tell my story really quick, and it's beautiful because I actually have never heard your story, but our stories align very similarly.
Yeah.
Where I originally started making candles, I was in property management for 13 years. Property management, as much as I love it, is also a headache. And then I was also training. I was a personal trainer, fitness nutrition, and weight loss specialist for over 13 years. And I was just at a point where I needed an outlet. And I was walking around a store one day and I'm like, oh, soap, that looks difficult. This looks difficult. I'm like, how hard could it be? Some wax, a wick, a jar. Let's just make it happen. So
Yeah.
I made a couple of candles, and then the building I worked in, there was a bar downstairs. And I was like, hey, because I saw it, I'm like, oh, Seattle, like everyone loves upcycled stuff. Let me make candles out of wine glasses. So they would save all their wine glasses in the liquor bottles. And I just had bottles all over my house. I would cut them, I made candles out of them. And then so I started very like cost efficiently. I didn't spend that much money on this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had an event. There was is called Seattle Enchant. It was at one of the stadiums, and it was a big light maze that they had. And I was like, oh, let me vend at this event. Never vended before, never sold a mad candle, nothing. I told my job, I'm gonna be late every day this week. I'm going to this event. First day, pretty much sold out. People had no clue that I've never done this before. That was my first time ever vending. Everyone was like, well, you sure picked the biggest of the biggest events to vend at. And so almost similar to you, people already had the perception that I was already this big brand. And at that particular event, there were two well-known established candle brands right in front of me. And I almost wanted to go home that day because I was like, this is a waste of time. I'm not going to sell anything. Competition. Decided I was going to start a candle company, but didn't take it seriously because I was comfortable in my job. I was making good money. I was like, yeah, no big deal. But I wanted to be perfect, right? Pandemic hit and said, no, ma'am, you have to stay home and watch your son. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So I moped for a few days, and I look over in this table where I have all these candles that I made. And maybe there was probably like 35, 40 candles max. I made a website first week, sold all of them, started doing pre-orders, and then everything just spiraled out of control from there. I was getting I got features very quickly. I'm really strong background in marketing, strong background in sales, strong background in just visual. I've never done graphic design or anything like that, but I just know what looks good. And I know how to convey these messages to the people who know how to do it. And so I designed everything. I designed my website. I did everything from scratch. And it gave this perception of I have an entire team. And that's what people thought. They thought the entire time, oh my gosh, she has this entire team. She's been doing this forever. I got my shop 3 months after I opened. I was in a 900 square foot 2-bedroom. I had no choice. And luckily during that time, during the pandemic, they were giving away retail spaces. So it just kind of worked out perfect. And then that added to the perception of, oh my gosh, she has a shop too. I got that shop. I'll let people know right now. I think I got that shop for $850 a month.
Yeah. Which is unheard of.
1,000 square feet. Yeah. So here I am, like, giving the perception, oh my gosh, she has this huge shop. She must be paying all this money. No, I just knew how to find a good deal.
Yeah.
I got $850 to start. They definitely jacked it up as things changed, but that's what it started off as. But yeah, similar to you, where in the beginning I gave this perception as I was already big, not intentionally and unintentionally, I would say. Like I was just doing what I knew what was right within the business realm, but not knowing that it was giving this bigger perception of what was really behind, because it was just me, my son, and every now and then my mom and my dad would help, and that was it. But it was mostly just me doing everything up to 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I had a lawn chair in my shop that I would work till like 3 in the morning, sleep for 2 or 3 hours, wake back up and start working again. But we're going to get into that. So yeah, I guess it's my turn for a question.
Yes. My first question is, in the beginning, what is the thing that you think connected people to you so quickly and so strongly?
I think it was my transparency and my realness. I've never been one to like wear a lot of makeup, or I'm not big on buying expensive fancy clothes. I was just real. I think people could see me in them, and I wasn't giving this persona off as anything else, because that's one thing. I'm a horrible liar, horrible. And I think if everyone tells me it's my transparency is what really helps set me apart, or not even set me apart, but draw people to me, because there's a lot of transparent people out there. But I think that's one of the biggest things, was the transparency and just being open and allowing people into my life as much as I'd let them. But yeah, that was a big one.
I guess we're going to just keep going back and forth saying how similar we are, because honestly, people would ask me in the beginning, like, how do you attract people? How do you attract followers? How do you get people to do this or that? And I'm like, honestly, I'm just on here telling the truth. Like, if I don't have it, I'm going to say I don't have it. If I don't know, I'm going to say I don't know. I didn't want to give the perception that I was a huge business or that I had a huge team in the beginning. That was not an intentional thing. Like, I wanted people to know, hey, this is just me. But I think just the way that I put it out, it was kind of hard for people to believe, or if they were just coming into like awareness of me, they didn't necessarily know and just assumed that, the team was larger than just me. But I mean, honestly, to this day, it's literally still just me, and it has always been just me. I've had a couple of people maybe help me with, an individual event here or there, but this whole time it's been just me. And my answer to the people was always, I didn't have money, but I had the truth. And I think that's really what drew people to me in the beginning too. And I think still to this day it's what connects a lot of people to me, because a lot of people, they feel like they know me, even though they don't. Like, through this social media thing, I've had people come up to me in the store and they're like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "Who are you?" And they're like, "Oh, I know you from, you my homie." And I'm like, okay, I instantly know who they are. But like they approach me like they know me, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine being an actual celebrity or something, because like people really get connected to you. And but I just thought that was interesting that you said like transparency was what drew people, because I feel the exact same way, honestly.
Right, right. It's really interesting. One of my really good friends is a radio personality up here, and like she's used to getting noticed when she goes out, but she's like, I've never had a friend like I was in Atlanta and somebody chased me down the street in Atlanta, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm all the way across the country and people are still recognizing me, and
yeah.
I'm just like blown away by it. And it's the transparency that brings people to you, and I love it. It's weird. It's really weird, but I do love it. Okay, so can you describe a time where you had to overcome a major obstacle within the growth of your business?
I have the perfect story. So, as you know, and any other candle maker or small business person, vending opportunities often become like the main thing for a lot of small businesses. So that, like everybody else, became my main thing. I was at a vending event like every weekend, pretty much, right? So in September, September of 2021,
Mhm.
my car decided that it was done. And so here I am with a full fall schedule of events, right? Fall is the busiest vending time, really, especially for a candle maker. So here I am with a full fall schedule and no car. And so I had to figure out how I was going to get, not just how I was going to get from my apartment to my studio space, get from my studio space to vending events. I had to figure all of that out. And we're carrying tents, we're carrying product, we're doing a lot to get to these events. There was this one in particular. Anybody in Georgia um, knows how far out Alpharetta is from the city. And if you don't know, if you're not from Georgia, Alpharetta, in relation to the city where I live and where my studio space is probably about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the traffic. So here I am signed up for a weekend long festival type event with them. No car. I'm calling everybody who I know. And I don't know a lot of people in this city. Like, I'm fairly new here. I've been here for 4 years, but I always say the pandemic robbed 2 years of it from me. So, I'm like, my support circle is not huge here. Here I am calling at the last minute, trying to get to this event, or figure out how I'm going to get to this event. Nobody is able to help me. And so I literally had to get in a Uber with tents, products, myself, everything that I was gonna need for a weekend. And like, I was honestly freaking out the entire time, because I was like, I had emailed the organizers. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get there. Honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna get there. There
Yeah,
was no refund option. So I'm just like,
you got to make it happen.
I gotta make it out there. And I made it out there through Uber. I mean, through the power of technology. But like, that was just something where I was like, dang, like, how am I about to make this happen? Like, I have to make it happen. I knew I had to make it happen, but how was I going to make it happen? And because I mean, mind you, think about how much an hour long drive in an Uber is. Then I couldn't get just a Uber small. I had to get an SUV. So I'm like,
A lot of
how am I
money.
gonna how am I about to afford this? because we shell out the money to vend at the events themselves. We shell out the money to create the products that we're going to sell. So a lot of your money is already spent out up front. And
Mhm.
here I am, like, how am I about to make it to this event? Am I going to even, like, is it going to be worth it based off of all that I've invested to even be there?
Mhm.
But I made it, and I made money, and I got through that weekend. And afterwards, I was like, I kind of was just like, you can do anything. That's ultimately what that weekend taught me. It wasn't my best sales weekend, but I made it through it. And it was ultimately like, I profited. But more so, I think the bigger profit for me was I can do some amazing SHIT, honestly.
Yeah.
When my back is against the wall or just when I have to, like, so that was a big confidence booster, but it was definitely like a trying time because I was like, I'm about to be out of a lot of money because that festival was not cheap. So I'm like,
But
I'm
you
about to
made it
be out of a
happen.
lot of money, but I made it happen.
I
So
bet you was out there killing it too. Nobody would have any idea what you went through to get there.
no, no. And that's the thing. A lot of times we, I think that's a lot of people's story when they're coming to these events is like, we don't know what that person went through to get to
Ooh,
that table, that 6 foot table, that 6 foot space, or that 10 foot by 10 foot tent. We don't know what happened to them before they got there. And we still have to show up, smile, sell, face rejection because you get a lot of rejection during that day too. During that time, people walking by, people questioning your pricing, people questioning your product, people questioning you, you know. So it's like to have all of those normal factors of just vending on top of whatever story you had leading up to it, it can be a lot sometimes.
that
So
part. Whew,
yeah,
hard. Okay, I'm ready.
it's you. What's my next question? Is there I want to focus a lot on the beginning versus now. So that's kind of where this question is rooted.
Okay.
Is there anything in the beginning of your business, a process, a vendor, anything from the beginning of your business that you feel like maybe you abandoned in the growth of your business, but you also feel like it was essential to the beginning of your business or like the foundation of your business? Does that question make sense?
It makes complete sense because
Okay.
it's one I wish I could do all the time now, but I can't. And even at one point in time, I paid somebody to do it, but it wasn't the same. And it was interact with people on social media. In
Hmm.
the beginning, I would reply to all the comments. I would have full conversations. I would go to their page, even though I didn't follow everyone. And it was strategic. I didn't follow anyone because I was trying to create the proper algorithm. So when I did my ads. So it wasn't me trying to be coy or anything. It was
Right,
me
right.
it was business that I didn't follow people back. But I would still go to people's pages and, oh my God, congratulations, you just got married. And let me send you a 15% off coupon. Like I would really be engaged in the people that were engaging with me. And I don't have the ability to do that anymore. And it honestly makes me sad because I don't want to come off as, oh, well, she feels she's got too big and she doesn't have to talk to anyone anymore. Or even when I say I don't answer my DMs, I don't not answer my DMs because I don't want to. I'm overwhelmed. And not only just overwhelmed because I'm not going to respond with just a one word answer when I respond to
Hmm.
DMs. I actually take time to respond to these and I don't have the time to do it anymore. And it really makes me feel some type of way. And I think that was a huge part of the success in the beginning of my business is that I engaged so hard with my customers. Nikki says, or text messages. So don't feel bad, guys. I don't just respond to DMs, right? I'm horrible with text messages as well. Where I tell people, double text me. You have the right to double text me because I'll look at it and I'm in the middle of something. I say, okay, I'll come back to it. Um, and so, yeah, if you guys have the opportunity, if you're building a business, one of the best things that you guys can do, Jules, don't back that up. One of the best things that you can do is engage and interact with your customers, be one with them, like become a part of what's going on in their lives. During the pandemic, I started my live candle sales, and
Mm-hmm.
those were amazing. And I tell people I didn't really make a lot of money off of those. A lot of times they're there just to create that space where I can engage with my customers. If anything, I make back these candles that I've made. But what I gain more from it is the opportunity to spend time with the people who pour into me. And so it gives me opportunity to pour into them, make them feel good. At the end, the last few I did, I had a DJ on there. We were just partying it up, having a good time. Like DJ talking about that whole box is $33. I'm like, yeah, $33, just give it away. And that was in a way my way of compensating for not being able to interact really one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, it's the interacting with people and actually taking the time to see what's going on. There's a handful of people that started with me in the beginning. And I always say they met me at that enchant fair and I coerced them into following me on Instagram. It was the 25 people I started with before it was Blk Sunflower, for real. And we're still cool to this day. Like they even know I have a little secret menu. They know what to order off the secret menu because they started in the beginning when I sold everything. I had incense, I had waist beads, I had earrings, I had sage, I had everything because I just like what works. I didn't know what I wanted. But
Yeah.
yeah, interacting with my customers, and not even I don't even say my customers, like friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
work hard. We work hard for our money. And if somebody's willing to invest in me, like I want to be able to pour into them. So now it's being creative and finding other ways to be able to pour back into them.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right. So now we're going to get into the good stuff.
Okay.
What was your breaking point?
My breaking point. Um,
And explain. I say, what was your breaking point? I know from previous conversations. So I
mm-hmm.
guess you have to, there's a precursor to why you came up to that breaking point and what was it?
Um, okay. So I think I've maybe had multiple breaking points.
That's a good,
Um,
right?
the first one though, I think was when I got sick in September of 2021. No, of of 2022, September of last year.
Mhm.
I got sick to a point where I couldn't work. Um, and I had built my life around being able to work and, like these candles selling, me going to these vendor events and selling the candles, me going to my studio and making the candles. And when I got sick, I realized you've spent a lot of time building like the business, the aesthetic, the social media. You've gotten all of those things right. But the thing that you haven't done is build in like space for yourself and your own humanity. And it was then I think that like was the beginning of like my first really deep depression in my whole life. Like I've been sad before, but I'm coming out of a depression that started with that period in life where I couldn't work, so there's no money coming in. My social media is going down. My bank account is going down. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I don't have a plan B. I don't have a part-time job. I don't have I, this is literally my bread and butter. If I don't sell these candles, I don't eat. And from there, it was me battling back and forth with like having to pick myself up, of course, for the season because we're going in September, we're going into like the fall season, the biggest season for us. Um, and just having to really muscle through those last few months of last year. And that was the breaking point where I had several thoughts. I'm just like, the one that I've already said, you've built this business, but you haven't built space in it for you to actually have a life, a healthy lifestyle. And then your mission espouses, I want to teach people how to take care of themselves, but I in turn am not taking care of myself. And so I'm like, there's that thing of, feeling guilty for not taking care of myself, but then also feeling guilty because you have people who are like, where are you? We're so used to you being so present. And we're so used to just like the constant flow of content, the constant flow of rollouts. We're just used to a certain level that I like physically, mentally, emotionally just could not. I didn't have the capacity for. And that was when I was like, I had to take a step back. I finished out the year. In January, I was like, okay, I'm a hop back to it. It's something about the new year. I'm gonna just do this new year refresh thing, and I'm gonna hop back to it. January 1 came, and I couldn't move. Like I literally couldn't move. I couldn't go to my studio. I couldn't think about a candle. So for the whole month, I did nothing. Like I literally did nothing. And it's not that I had the space or money or anything else to do it, but you know, I think many people know that if you don't take a seat, life will sit you down. And I feel like that's what happened to me. Life sat me down. So that first breaking point was the September being sick. The second one was at the beginning of the year where I was just like, I literally can't do anything. I don't know. And so now I had planned to come back strong and like, okay, I'm gonna take this month off. February, I'm gonna be back to it. And there still has been a lag in that. And that lag is still present to this day. Though I'm feeling better emotionally. I'm feeling a bit more like, back to myself. But I still don't want to go back to where I wasn't taking care of myself. So that's the point that I'm figuring out right now. Or that's the thing I'm figuring out right now at this point. And that's really, like I said in the beginning, that's what is bubbled up to the surface. And now I'm like clearing it all out, talking to you, talking to my friends, my family, and just, trying to figure out how can I still run that business, but also maintain myself in a way that like where I'm prioritizing myself over really anything.
Preach, preach. Because
Yeah.
I'm going to let you ask a question because talking to you, and this is why we need to have these conversations because we don't realize that people are going through the exact same things. We're all going through the exact same things. Mine, maybe it took a little bit longer for me to hit that realization where I have been going nonstop since 2020, you guys,
Yeah.
like nonstop. Was it the end middle last summer into last year? I told myself, oh, I need to lose some of this weight because I'm not sitting on my butt as much and things like that. And then it hit me. I was like, I'm trying to get back to the weight I was when I started Blk Sunflower. I wasn't healthy. You guys, I didn't eat. My friends had to remind me to eat. My friends had to remind me to eat. I wouldn't drink. I wouldn't sleep. All I did was, I'm gonna cry. All I did was eat, sleep, and breathe Blk Sunflower. And I was exhausted. But on the outside looking in, I was like, oh my God, that's so great. Like she's doing so wonderful. And the problem is, I kept feeling that I had to live up to the expectations of what everybody else thought I should be and where Blk Sunflower was going. I had to keep that up or I was a failure. And I am just the way I've always lived my life. My dad's military. So it's always, you have to stay strong. You don't give up. You keep going, like no matter what, just push through. And I'm just like, I can't. And it was March of 2022. I started building up a team, and so I had a few people in there, but I still was very possessive over of my baby. And I remember March 26, 2022, I caught COVID. I caught
Yeah.
COVID, and that was the day I was supposed to launch my business again. My website was shut down for like 2 months,
Yeah.
and of course, my bills. I had bills, and I'm um, purchasing product. I have all these liquid assets to do these candles. And then with my launch, I increased my prices. I had a studio, I had a shop, I had a fulfillment center, I had a team. You guys, I had 2 rents, I had 2 electricity, I had 2 light bills, I had to drive back and forth. All this on top of being a single mother. I was exhausted. And so, like you said, universe plopped my behind down, said, boop, you get COVID. You can't do nothing. Figure it out.
Yeah.
I ran my business from FaceTime for a good 2 weeks and things went good. Yes, there was some snafus and some hiccups here and there, but I um, I managed to make it happen. And I think that was one of the first points where, like, Jazmin, you don't have to do everything. I still wasn't ready to back all the way out, or I wasn't, it didn't hit me. And then, because in the beginning I spent so much time trying to keep up with the demand, and when we had our supply shortages, I tell people all the time, I overbought on so much stuff. It's ridiculous. That money I could have been saving and utilizing to other things. I was not financially responsible with the money that came in. The amount of money that I was making, I had never seen before. And I wasn't going out buying cars and shoes and clothes. I continuously invested the money back into the business, but I didn't invest it in the proper way. I never really had a mentor to tell me, hey, Jocelyn, maybe you should do this or that. I'm going off of, with this quick changing world and everything that we have going on. I just had to make sure I kept up with the demand.
Yep.
And you said September, mine was November. November of last year, I went into a hole. I was so, and I have chronic depression, but working actually helps me with it. But it's hit to the point. I started my business academy. I started my business academy 2 months later. I did not even step foot in that academy for 2 months. I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Um, you know that reel or TikTok that goes around was like, show a time where you were at your lowest and nobody knew.
Yeah.
When I was doing that pitch competition at Operation Hope and I was on that big stage, I had to drag myself out of my depression to fly to Atlanta to do that pitch competition. That was the last place I wanted to be. I was grateful. I was thankful. But the amount of effort it took me to go up there and present myself as this well-rounded, I'm put together, I have everything, where there were some days I didn't know if what my son ate or not. It was like, I don't know. I'd order some stuff on Instacart. He had to pull it in from the house from outside. And I just made sure I had stuff that was easy for him to eat. And it was at that point, and I have a therapist. I've had my therapist for a long time. My new therapist, we're actually going a year, the most amazing person in the world. Definitely, if you're running a business, you need a therapist. Point blank, period.
Yes.
Everyone's talking about, get your bookkeeper, get your lawyer, get your therapist.
Get a therapist.
Get
Absolutely.
a therapist. You need it. Get your therapist. I actually have a healer as well. I have a medicine woman who helps me, and my circle. And I remember there are times where my medicine woman would pull back from me because I was still, oh, thank you, Jules. I was still focused on money, money. I need money. I need money. But then I realized I'm going to be okay with or without the money. Yes, some things may not be taken care of the way it's supposed to be taken care of.
Yeah.
But if I surround myself and live my life towards chasing the dollar, I will never be happy, ever. So I guess my thing is, if you want to do a business, I want you to do it for the right reasons. If you're doing it for money, you will never be happy. You will never be satisfied. Do something that fulfills you. And that's when I sat back and I had to reassess my ideas of success. Woo, can't even get it out. And it's doing what I want, when I want, and being happy doing it. And I will forever preach that from now going forward.
Yeah. And that makes the whole difference, honestly. Because when you think about why so many people started businesses during that time period of like quarantine and coming out of like the thick of COVID, it was because people had the space to really think about, does this job make me happy, or am I happy in my life? Is there something else I could be doing? And then a lot of us, we went and started businesses with so much like energy for that, but then we started businesses that ultimately didn't make us happy, in the long term. Maybe in the beginning, yes, but we just started something else that stressed us out. It wasn't a job that was stressing us out. Now it's, this thing that we've created that's like consuming our lives. Because I mean, anybody who runs a small business or even works within one knows that, like, that just because you are working for yourself doesn't mean that you're working less. You're actually working 10 times harder than you've ever worked before for anybody else. Because on top of building a business, you're building every process, you're building the structure, you're having to think, like, your wheels literally can't even turn off. Even if you tried it, you're going to be in bed, you're going to be thinking about that business, you're going to be at dinner with a friend, you're going to be thinking about that business. And that's just how That's the nature of it. And so, if I could tell anybody like who was asking me, well, how do I go about starting a small business, or should I start a small business? My answer is different now than it would have been maybe a year or two ago. A year or two ago, I was definitely on the reels where it's like, oh, I quit my job and I'll never go back type of vibes. I was definitely on that wave, admittedly. But now I'm like, build it in a way that's actually sustainable and makes sense for your life as it exists right now. And if it grows to a point where it pulls you away from everything, let it pull you away from it. That's how, if I could go backwards, I would, even though when I started, I did it because I didn't have a job. I was laid off. But there are people who are like on their jobs, they hate them, and they're just like, I just want to quit. I just want to, and I'm like, hold on, pump your brakes. You know, you might want to assess, well, is the stress of building a business, is that actually going to help the state of mind, the state of emotion that I'm in right now? Because people think, oh, if I quit this job, then everything is going to be fine. And that may not be the case, because this is going to be a whole different type of beast and journey that, you know, it's just a whole different type of monster. I'll just say it like that.
It is. It is. And a lot of people, let's go to comparing journeys.
Yeah.
With social media, honestly, I feel sorry for the younger generation, and it's just a big cluster of comparison and judgment. And no wonder most of us are so depressed, because it doesn't matter how strong you are, there's still a smart part of you that's always comparing yourself to the next person. But you don't know somebody else's journey. Just like Derek, you said, you've been doing this, isn't your first business. This is not your first rodeo. It's not my
Mm,
first rodeo. So people outside looking in would be like, oh my God, they just had quick, fast success.
exactly.
I have been busting my butt for years. I was selling candy on the playground. Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I've been
Listen,
with,
I I burned CDs in elementary school. I took requests, took the mix. I was the
that
mixtape
was
dude. I was
me.
selling snacks. Like I've had an entrepreneur mindset for pretty much my whole life, and it just manifested in adulthood. But I had a fashion brand for years. That was truly my passion. And honestly, anybody who knew me before 2020, if you would have asked them, well, what is Derek known for, or what would you see his career being, it would have been fashion designer. Like, that's what people knew me for. But in the midst of trying to be more business minded, I was like, oh, candles. Let me pivot into candles, because that makes more sense. It's more universal. I could sell that easier than, and it's a lower cost investment than building a fashion brand. So like my experience up to this. I think the candle brand is kind of a manifestation of all of that, and a culmination of all of that. The things that I learned in that fashion business, the things that I learned selling CDs as a child, the candle business is a culmination of all of that. And it just happened to work in a particular way that nothing else had worked before.
Same. Oh my gosh, we are twins.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When you said the CDs, there's always that one teacher who kind of let you do whatever in class. I would use
Yep.
all the school's resources, and I'll burn my CD. I was down there on Napster and LimeWire, downloading stuff and taking requests and selling my
Hmm.
CDs. Like, I think it's sold for like
Yeah.
$10 or something like that.
Yes.
But then taking, like I said, it's just a combination. The joke is, I like candles, but candles are not my love. I was a businesswoman who saw an opportunity. I saw, once again, the low cost of entry. It's reusable. People are going to consume. It's a consumable. That's what I meant. People are going to consume it. They're going to want to come back to it. And then just giving the state of the world, like, yeah, I'm going to be honest, I took advantage of the time that people not only want to support small businesses, they want to support small Black businesses. And
Hmm.
I was like, and the joke's on me. I decided I was going to go from training to candles because I didn't want to be the face of my business. Ha! Joke's on me. That was cute. That was really cute. Because in a service-based business where I'm training, I have to be there and train each client, or I have to have one-on-ones. Um, but yeah, this is a beautiful conversation, and just how many things are in line.
Yeah.
And this should show people that we are all going through the same thing, and you need to really focus on what makes you happy and finding out what you're building. Even with
Yeah.
the job, I told myself all the time, oh, I'd never go back to a 9 to 5. Like, I'd go back. Unfortunately, now my bills won't cover it if I went back. So I have to bust my butt. But with that being said, I've never been against the 9 to 5. Honestly, my 9 to 5, my company, they pay me some of my biggest checks now. Not as an
Hmm.
employee, but as a contractor. Like, never burn those bridges. And let's talk about the business side. You have a tax advantage by keeping a W-2 job, where it offsets your tax responsibility and liability within your business. And a lot of people don't realize that also. So there are quite a few benefits. If you could stick out your 9 to 5, your W-2 job, do it for as long as you can.
I definitely recommend it. And like, I guess another thing I want to do at this point is like, I want to kill the notion that there is like shame in having a 9 to 5 or not running your business full time, or that there's shame in going back. Because guess what? I just signed my offer letter to go back to a nine to five job, and I will be starting on Monday. So, and I haven't been this happy in a long time because I know with that, yes, it's going to take up some of my time, and home won't get exactly what it was getting from me when that was my only focus. But when it does get me, it's going to get the best of me because my life, my bills, all of that is covered. And the 9 to 5 is going to add a structure to my life that I've been missing because I'm very much a person who thrives off of structure, and I have my whole life because my mom is extremely organized. She just had us on a routine, and part of being an entrepreneur and running your own business is you don't really have a routine unless you build it yourself. And I realized that I was feeling a certain type of way because I'm like, dang, I start the day and I end the day and I kind of feel, low. And it's because I am not good at building the structure. Though I thrive in it, I'm not necessarily good at building the structure. And so without structure, you can easily go through your day, do a lot of things, and still feel like you've done nothing at the end of the day. And so I'm like, let me, because I also worked a 9 to 5 job and was pursuing entrepreneurship on the side for years, and it worked great for me. So I'm like, let me go back to that. Let me reintroduce that structure and stability of a check coming in every week or every 2 weeks, however often you get paid. Um, and then when I'm focused on my business, I'm really there and I'm really present and I'm really able to give it way more energy than me being like desperate for this thing to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like when I approach home with a desperate energy, and it's like, oh, everything is riding on this market this week, so every, it puts so much pressure and expectation and just angst on top of it. I was finding myself going to vendor markets, and every time somebody would walk past, it was like a knife, or somebody would walk up to the table and they would walk away without buying something. And it was like a knife. I'm like, oh, I'm just taking all of this so personally because I'm like, I know what it would mean for you to buy a candle for me right now. I need you to buy a candle for me right now, but I can't make you buy one for me right now. And so I would be at those markets all day and just be like, I would walk away from them feeling absolutely terrible. So the notion of a 9 to 5 being something to be ashamed of, or to, that adds no value to your life or subtracts only, get rid of that. Reframe your mind, because mine has definitely been reframed from the experience of the opposite. So
Right, right. And I really think that that's a really good point. And I've been in and out 9 to 5, independent, like, my whole life. I've
Mm.
never had a problem going back. If I could go back now, I would if I had the right thing. It's just I created such a whirlwind for myself, and I'm blessed to have the mind and the thought process and the resources to be able to continue to fund my endeavors with it. But I will be honest, it'd be nice to know every 2 weeks I will have this money coming in. That right there is, it takes such a huge weight off of your shoulders.
Hmm.
Where even though I know it would take a huge weight off your shoulders, taking more time for me has allowed me to not stress. It's so crazy. Like when you really start doing that hard work, not only trauma work and everything else, and you spend more time praying and meditating and whatever it takes for you to dig inside yourself, it's really alleviated a lot of that, and stuff flows. Everything just flows to me as needed instead of chasing. So stop chasing. Like you
Yeah,
chase. Like you said, when people walk by and it stabbed you in your heart, you were chasing it. But if you were back there and you were just, hey, how's it going? If you buy a candle, good. If you don't buy a candle, good. I'm pretty sure they would have bought a candle.
exactly. I definitely think it was an energy that was being like radiated off of me almost, because I remember in the beginning I had so much ease going into every single one, and it was like all I would do is smile and people would walk up and buy
Right,
candles. And
right.
here I am with this energy of like of
Desperation.
desperation, and I'm just like, please, I think it was, even though I wasn't saying it out of my mouth, it was probably like, please buy a camera for me, please, please, like, please come to. And I think that was unattractive, honestly. Even though I'm my same self, I look the same, all of that, but I think the energy was probably unattractive, and I'm like, let me do that work that you was just talking about and focus on myself, healing myself, taking care of myself, to correct my energy. I don't know if people really understand the importance of the energy that like radiates from within, but it's very real. And I think it makes a difference in your life and any endeavor that you go into.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you do to take care of you? Like what's different between now and previously?
So I love TV. I
Mhm.
absolutely love TV. So definitely binge watching a good series. That is like a good guilty pleasure. I am exercising more. I actually went and found, because I love to play volleyball as well. So I went and found an open play that I can go to on a weekly basis. I joined the league. So basically, like finding something that I love that it wasn't, because I also have a mind where it's like even if I pick up a hobby, my mind starts to turn it into a business. So I'm like,
Oh my God, we're the same. Can't do
I'm
nothing.
I can't do nothing. Like I start painting, and I'm like, oh, I could turn this into I could start selling prints. So so I'm like, let me do something that I can't do that too. So that's why I did. I play volleyball weekly, and really just building a life, because home for these years has been my life. I told you I moved here in 2019. Pandemic happened, so there's 2 years kind of taken away, and I immediately started ideating and building this business, and that became my life. So every week, all week, I'm in the studio. Weekends, I'm at a market, rinse and repeat. So I'm like, dang, you don't even have a life. Like you don't even. People ask you, well, how are you liking Atlanta? And I'm like, it's cool. I don't, but I really can't answer it from a real place, because I'm like, I don't know Atlanta for real. So getting out and exploring and building a life and investing my energy and time into things that just bring me joy, and like I'm not trying to turn it into anything but enjoyment.
Wow, I love that you said that because a few months ago my therapist said, "So what do you like to do?"
Hmm.
Um, I work.
Right.
She's like, last night she's like, I'm like, but no, I take joy in working and completing stuff. She's like, but what do you like to do? And I couldn't answer her. And I
Right.
was like, all right, this is a problem. And so some of the things I've done is definitely therapy once a week. Me and her meet up. That's my one standing thing. Exercising more, of course, has definitely helped me a lot. And then taking intentional time for not just me taking intentional time to build friendships that are
Yes.
not based around business,
Yes.
and just like, hey, let's go for a walk, let's not talk business, let's go, and making a point not to discuss business or create business out of something, and being intentional with my son. So today and tomorrow, like, I make it a point that I don't have anything going, not just today and tomorrow. Today and tomorrow are like the 2 days in the past, I don't know, few weeks that I'm actually occupied when my son comes home. But I realized there were times that I'm always like, just a second, just a second, just a second, just a second to my son. I was like, he's gonna grow up and remember is I'm always putting him off. I'm here laughing and joking with you guys. I'm on the phone handling business, and to him, I'm having a good time, but I'm always putting him off.
Yeah.
Um, I've started doing every weekend we do something fun. Like this past weekend, we went to a soccer game. It got out late at night. We're in downtown Seattle. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do all the fun things I would do with my drunk friends with my son, minus getting drunk. And so we hopped on a scooter and we're riding the scooter down downtown. We go to some like, uh, restaurant that's still open. We're eating greasy food, and he gets to watch all the drunk people stumbling around, and just
Yeah.
like it was just a random fun thing, but always incorporating something because I don't want him to remember me as mommy was always too busy for me.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was extremely important because I was like, wow, like these are core memories I'm creating here, and I don't want them to be the wrong ones.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. And I told you this before in like our previous conversation. I couldn't imagine being a parent on top of all that I'm going through right now. So I definitely commend you and anybody else whose situation that is, because kids need a lot, and I don't feel like I have a lot to give at this point, but y'all don't have that option,
Right.
like
You give your
so.
last bit, like whatever you do have left, and then you're left with nothing. You're left curled up in the fetal position in your bed. Like, what am I gonna do next? Like, and it's crazy. So what's next with home? Tell us what's the vision, where are you going, what's happening, how are you structuring home so that it's not taking over your life, but is a complement to your life.
So home, as people see it now, won't change a whole lot. What will change is like the internal structure of how I approach it. I think I, like you, kind of responded to the demand and felt like I need to grow, I need to order more, I need to produce more, I need to, like operate as though I'm some big business. And that's the biggest thing that internally will be changing. I won't be operating like I'm a big business. I'm in the process of, thinking, because I have a studio space still currently. I'm like, should I pull out of that studio space? My lease is up in August. I don't know. I probably won't renew. Like this business may come back into my dining room where it started. Or I may get a smaller space, like a little storage unit or something. Scaling down the production and operation side and focusing on like um wholesale partners, building those up to where like my hits are bigger versus like the one-off retail type of things. I'll still have my website, that'll still be there, but like my focus will definitely be on things that I can do in batches. Even when I produce for my website, it will be small batch, um, because full transparency, I had my website set to where it would continue to sell even when the product was out of stock, and I would just have to make, 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 make. But I'm turning that feature off. If I have no candles, I'm not going to sell a candle, because even though, it was set to sell when there was nothing else, like it's not like my customers felt that. I just knew I had to be in the studio making to order pretty much. I don't want to do any more make to order. It's definitely going to be much more organized, much more intentional, and much more like what I can do and still have a life that like is full, and not full with like work, but like full you know with life, I guess.
Mhm. I love
So
it. I think I'm going in the same direction, where I even down to the processing of my orders. I think I was talking to you the other day where me and my publicist we were going through we are looking through SEO stuff and we found 4 articles that we never seen before. And one of the articles it had a bunch of candles and it's the pros and cons of all the candles. Got down to Blk Sunflower. I don't remember what the pros were, but one of the cons said it may take a little while to get your order. And I said, I'm okay with that
Yeah.
because there was a point in time where one having my fulfillment center, you need an extremely high output. I was making about around 250 candles a day,
I'm
and I
sorry.
just,
I'm trying to get my lighting is
yeah,
off.
no
I'm so sorry.
worries. Now you glowing. Now you got the glow. Is that good energy rolling off of you? I think it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You go. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Where was I at? Yeah. I was just kind of like, I'm no longer going to push out that amount. And the fact that I saw written on paper, like it may take a while to get your order. And I was okay with that in my heart. I was like, oh my God, let's fix this, guys. No, I might even go to the point where I make candles one day a week and I ship candles one day a week. And the rest of
Yeah.
those other days are other things. I have
Yeah.
my business academy, which honestly, that's my heart and my love. I love teaching. I love educating. I love showing people how to become a better version of themselves and live out their dreams. I want to make sure that I give people um, information that they can go ahead and turn around and use right away. And so that's where I want to put my energy. And like I said, I want to do what I want, when I want, and I want to be happy doing that. And yes, I love my candles. They've gotten me to this point, but it's all about doing the things in life that make me happy now. And my academy, and I have the master class, which I love. I love teaching. I'd rather teach people to make candles than make candles myself. I'm realizing.
Hmm.
And then I'm starting an entrepreneur conference where I'm bringing in, and we have the other one coming in Atlanta. Oh, and speaking of, you guys, one of my special guests at the Atlanta Masterclass. You're looking right at him right here. Yes. So he'll be one of our guests of honor. I have him and Suki from HOAM Candle Co. One to just have somebody else in the building that can help give some more advice and what's going on. Because as much as I wish I knew everything, I don't. And other people have great information as well, but to also show the world that we can all support each other. I think that's very important. I'm not going to disclose the other thing we talked about, Derek, what I want to do with my website yet. We'll let that
Hmm.
up, but
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but it's
But it's
all
a good idea.
yeah,
Just so y'all know, it's a good idea.
yes,
It's
and
beautiful.
it's gonna help us all. It's gonna help
Yeah.
us all. Anything else you would like to share? Maybe we open it up for some questions.
Um. I guess I'll just kind of add to my answer of like where I'm going. I guess to summarize it for me, it's more so like I really want to operate like a small business at this point. That's the some summary of where home is going for me. I don't want to operate like I'm some massive corporation or like I really want to operate like a small business.
Mhm.
And
And what's
that's just
great,
what it is.
did you ever have the issue where people approached you like you were a big business in your
Yeah.
emails? Yeah.
I get donation requests, sponsorship requests, where people I want me to donate like tons
Significant.
of candles, or they want me to sponsor some event, or like I get requests as though I'm like, yeah, huge, and I'm like I got a cold call from a organization that was like talking about running ads or something, and I'm like, and I just started to be honest. I'm like, look, I'm a small business. I don't have the budget for this. And normally, when you say you don't have budget, people are like, okay, bye. But like they were pushing, and I'm like, look, I do not have a budget for it. Like I am a small business. I know it looks great, but it's literally just me. So chill out.
Right, right. But I love the fact that you have, it sounds rude, but I'm saying it for myself. Come to your senses. Senses.
Yes,
Ooh, I like that. Come to your senses. Get it? Huh?
yes,
And
yes,
realize that we in order to be happy, we need to do the things that make us happy. And I I don't know. I don't want people to feel what I felt. I don't want people to feel that they have to keep up with something. live in your journey, follow your path. Keep there is nothing wrong with slow and steady. Before I did, when I started Black Sunflower, I said it'll be cute if I can pay my phone bill and some of my rent.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I said from the beginning. I'm
Yeah.
thankful. I am blessed that things went the way it did. But even as things started getting bigger, I've always said, no, I want to grow slow. I want to grow slow. I kept saying that. But the universe was like, no, I have something else for you. What I really believe is that Black Sunflower was just a catalyst to allow me the opportunity to show people that I know what I'm doing so then I can in turn teach and help other people. That's what I really believe Black Sunflower was. Even in the beginning, people said, why don't you call it Blk Sunflower Candle Co? Because I was like, that's not the end of this. This is not.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I was at a farmer's market, and one of the tarot readers came over. She's like, can I do a reading for you? I was like, yeah. And she looked over. She's like, don't get stuck on that. This isn't it.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't the only one who's told me that. And I couldn't see anything else but these candles for a really long time. But then everybody in my DMs, everyone wanting help, everybody wanting help. And I was like, okay, I've always loved to teach. Like, this is my calling. This is where I want to go.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for us? I love this conversation.
This was
It
great.
was
It was needed. Yeah.
yeah, it feels good to get it out and share it and have that transparency that I hope somebody here is able to get something from this and feel if you're in that place, if you're in that depression place where you're feeling bad about yourself, you're feeling like you're not enough or you're not doing enough, you are enough. And just realize or take a step back and try to reassess what
Yeah.
you really want out of this.
Never be afraid to reevaluate. Never think that, oh, because I'm building this, it has to be this or it has to succeed in a certain way. You can always take a step back and say, okay, is it still achieving the goals that I want ultimately? You know what I'm saying? Or am I doing things that look good for the outside or are based off of other people's expectation or perception of me? Because I think the thing about small businesses or the businesses that are at the level that we're at is we have that human element that say a Walmart doesn't have, but we are actual human beings running this. Like, and you see who we are. So, like, don't treat yourself like you're not human, like you're human. And, like, don't let other people's expectation be the driving force in your business. Like, make it always, of course, you want to meet customer demand, the business jargon, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But like at the end of the day, if it's dragging you down, reassess, reevaluate, figure out if you still want it. Do you need to take a break? Do you need to change something? Like that's where I'm at right now. It's just like things have to change, or else it will be no more home candle company. What I'm saying? If I was to keep going the way that I was going, it would just be a throw my hands up and leave the studio, leave all the equipment there, and I just go on and live my life. But I'm like, no, I built it for a reason. I built the following for a reason and the platform. And I still like the things that I initially started to do, to serve people, teach people how to take care of themselves, create products that aid in that. All of those things are still a part of my mission. I just have to restructure how I do it. And I think one of the biggest things is doing it by example, taking care of myself as the first example of teaching people how to take care of themselves.
That
And
part.
then I can sell you a candle.
Right. Oh, yeah. There was a good, like you said, there was a good point in time where I was like, Jazmin, you're a fraud. Like,
Yeah.
you are a fraud. Self care. Take care of yourself. Well, Jazmin, when's the last time you ate or slept
Hmm.
or took a walk?
Yep.
And I was like, I want to be able to live in my truth. Like I said, I'm a horrible liar. I'm always transparent and very authentic. And I was not living up to that at
Yeah.
all. And I honestly couldn't hide it. If you guys look at me now, go look back at some of my old Instagram lives. I look sick. Okay. I look tired. I look exhausted. And for a while, I was like, oh, I need to take things down. I was like, no, I love having a reference for people to go back and look at where I look like I got backed over by a semi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Are there any questions, any comments in the I can't see
no,
it.
no, they're quiet. They're just listening intently. That's how it usually happens. And I love
Okay.
it. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, to talk to somebody, building these communities. There's a lot of communities. We have Jules from the Black Candle Makers Club. They have, I think it's this weekend, they have their Black Candle Makers Club meetup in LA. We have Nikki from Bubble Babes. That's another amazing community. You have the homies go hang out over on Derek's page. I have the Blk Sunflower Business Collective. There are places everywhere to go where there are like-minded individuals who are going through the same struggles as you guys or as all of us. And we're here open and ready to talk. So if we sit in silence and think that we're the only ones going through that, we're going to suffer alone in silence. Honestly, Derek, when you were going through your stuff, I wish I would have known, because we would have been a great shoulder to just help talk through and been able to get through those times a little bit quicker. But it's also that realization of, man, I can no longer present myself as I am. So a lot of times that's why we don't reach out.
Yeah. Yep. And for me, it's like we both have said how transparent we are, and how transparency was a big tool in us building our following. And it's like I couldn't I couldn't go on, or I couldn't go on social media, because if I did, it was gonna be just like "Wah!" all over the screen. You know what I'm saying? So I was silent. So I guess if I could put anything out about myself, if I'm silent, y'all feel free to check on me, because that's probably when I got something going on. You know, for
The
real,
people
for
in my
real.
academy know that. They're like, oh, if Jasmine's gone for too long, let's just send her a shoot a quick text because she's not okay. And
Yeah,
it's okay to not be okay, you guys.
yeah,
It is
yep,
okay. So we're not here to scare you from starting a business and getting things up and going. That's the last thing we want to do. We want to just make sure you go about the right way for your emotional well-being. And
right,
that's the most important. That's the premises of not just our companies, but let's say most candle companies are about self-care.
yeah,
And make sure you're living it as well,
yeah,
because it'll definitely make a difference with
yeah.
that. So, with that being said, you guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching this far. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And for that, we are thankful. Have a blessed evening, blessed day, blessed morning, whatever time you're watching that. Make sure you go ahead and follow Derek. Can you let them know where to find you at?
On all social platforms at HOAM Candle Co. That's HOAM Candle Co.
Perfect.
Website www.homecandle.co.
Awesome. And I'll actually put all the information in the description below so you can follow him and show him some love. And you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Bye.